Hello everyone, I'm Wild Gamer and this is Wild Time. In this video, I am going to tell you people about 5 animal species who have become extinct species. A species of animal is declared as extinct species when there is no reasonable doubt that the last individual of the species has died. Number 1. Thylacine. Thylacine, also known as Tasmanian wolf, Tasmanian tiger, and marsupial wolf, was once prevalent across Australia and Tasmania. Like many animals of Australia, they were marsupials. For those who don't know what is marsupials, these are mammals which carry their young ones in a pouch. Well-known marsupials are kangaroos, wallabies, and koala. These thylacine were the largest marsupial carnivore of recent time. As you can see on the picture, they resembled a heavy sandy-colored dog with bold black stripes across its haunches and a long stiff tail. Their size was 90 to 130 centimeters length head to body, with another 50 to 65 centimeter of tail and 35 to 60 centimeter height from the ground to their shoulder. Males were larger than females and weighed up to 18 kg. Their diet included small wallabies and kangaroos, probably also smaller mammals, birds, and reptiles. It was a surprisingly clumsy and slow-moving creature, and ill-equipped to be a predator. It is said to have stalked its prey at night or run after wallabies until they got tired and could be killed. Its jaws were longer than a dog's and it had more teeth, but they were probably unable to deliver a strong bite. Once mammals such as dingoes and later foxes and domestic dogs and cats reached Australia, the thylacine was forced to compete with these more efficient hunters and killers. It quickly disappeared from its former wide range, although there were many reports of sightings on the mainland of Australia even in the early 20th century. By about 1910, all remaining thylacine were confined to Tasmania, an island that initially lacked competing carnivores, but it all changed at the arrival of Europeans, who brought about a period of large-scale change to the habitat and to the species profile of the island. Europeans started sheep farming and the thylacine was considered to be a serious pest because it was infamous as a livestock killer, particularly of sheep and hens. From about 1840, farmers killed them in large numbers, and by about 1860 they had disappeared from the lowlands, surviving only in the more inaccessible mountain forests. From 1888, the killing was further encouraged by the Australian government, which offered payments as rewards for dead thylacine. Records show that rewards were paid for over 2,000 thylacines during a 20-year period, and many more must have died unrecorded. Most were shot or snared, but many were also poisoned. The species rapidly vanished from Tasmania, perhaps hastened into extinction by a disease that swept through other species of carnivorous marsupials, sharply reducing their numbers. In 1936, the thylacine was given legal protection, but by then it was too late and it was probably already extinct in the wild. The last wild thylacine was captured in 1933 and lived alone in Hobart Zoo of Tasmania, where it died in 1936. We people of Earth lost the chance to study and learn about a magnificent creature. Number 2. Dodo. The dodo was first discovered on a remote island in the Indian Ocean in about 1507. Few people ever saw it alive, but it has since become world famous as a symbol of extinction. The dodo was a kind of giant ground pigeon that somehow reached the island of Mauritius long ago and developed into a very unique flightless bird. The island had no native mammals and no human inhabitants, so flight was not necessary to escape enemies. The birds could build nests on the ground and roam around without any risk. The dodo was 75 centimeters in length and weighed up to 23 kg. Its diet was mostly large fruit gathered from forest floor, perhaps supplemented by invertebrates including snails and worms. In about 1507, Portuguese navigators discovered the dodo on Mauritius. It was described as being an unintelligent bird and easy to kill and catch. The sailors would stock up with fresh meat in the form of dodos before continuing their travels. Subsequent visits by French and British ships led to colonization of the island. The settlers cleared the forests to make way for sugarcane and destroyed their natural habitat completely. The human imported pigs, monkeys, cats, and dogs, and with them also came rats. The newly introduced animals were highly effective scavengers and predators. Although the adult dodos were large enough to defend themselves, their eggs and younglings could be swiftly gobbled up by the first pigs or monkey that spotted them. The fruit trees that provided a vital part of the bird's diet vanished, and within about 155 years of its discovery, the dodo was extinct. No dodos were found during a visit to Mauritius in 1682. The dodo has since become an international symbol of extinction and a reminder of the pressures wildlife faces in the modern world. The expression dead as a dodo has even entered our language to describe something that is dead or defunct. There were stories of another species of dodo, the white dodo, living on the island of Reunion. The island is situated about 200 kilometers west of Mauritius. Being flightless, it is difficult to imagine that the Mauritius dodo could have flew there and have colonized Reunion. The evidences for the existence of white dodos relies on old eyewitness accounts, which may well be inaccurate. Either the sailors were mistaken about which island they saw the dodo on, or they confused the bird with a flightless ibis that lived on Reunion. Ibis is also extinct now. Number 3. Quagga. Quagga was a form of the common zebra and used to roam the South African grasslands. But during the 19th century, it was hunted to extinction for its meat and hide. Its size was about 2 meters head to body with a tail of 50 to 60 centimeters. Its height was 1.3 to 1.4 meters from the ground to its shoulder and weighed up to 200 kg. The adult males can be up to about 300 kg. The common zebra occurs as various localized and distinct varieties, and the one in southern Africa was sufficiently distinct to have been considered a different separate species. It is named quagga based on the loud barking and coughing sound that all zebras make. Like the common zebra, quaggas roamed in large herds to exploit the vast grasslands and to achieve safety in numbers when attacked by predators. It is said that they preferred to spend the night in areas of short grass where they could not be easily ambushed. In quaggas, the striping that is a characteristic of all zebras was confined to the head, neck, and forequarters. Breeding experiments to produce an animal resembling the extinct quagga have included a cross between a mule and a zebra to produce a quagga hybrid. However, this animal lacks the striped head and neck of the quagga and is gray, whereas the quagga was generally brown. From about 1700, settlement in South Africa by Europeans increased substantially. By the late 19th century, most of the land occupied by quaggas had been brought into use for grazing livestock and for farming. The new settlers used to shoot quaggas for sport in far greater numbers than had ever been possible by the native people. The quaggas were killed by farmers as a convenient source of meat, and their skins also provided a good source of strong leathers, which was used for making robust bags. They were easy animals to hunt from horseback, since the open grassland offered nowhere to hide or escape. Hunting caused disruption of the quagga herds. The last wild quagga was probably killed in about 1878. Number 4. Steller's sea cow. In 1741, an expedition led by the Danish explorer Vitus Bering was shipwrecked on the Commander Island of Siberia in the Bering Sea. Bering and his crew were stranded on a bleak and inhospitable coast for the whole of the following winter until they were able to rebuild their boat and escape. The expedition's doctor and scientist was a young German naturalist called George Steller. When he was exploring the surrounding areas, he saw a very unique and large animal. He was the only naturalist ever to see sea cows alive. He had plenty of time to observe them, since the expedition depended on killing sea cows to provide food for its survival. Specialists assume that if there were sea cows all around the island, there may have been as many as 2,000 of them at this time. However, the sea cows represented the dying remnants of what had once been a much more widespread species. The sea cows had been eliminated from most areas, including Japanese waters, and by Steller's time, it seems that they were already restricted to the Commander Islands. The expedition crew killed a large number of the only living specimens of this species. The sea cows were large, cumbersome creatures, where female size was 7.5-meter length and circumference of the body was 6.2 meter. They probably grew even larger. Their weight was probably up to 10 to 11 tons. Steller's sea cow were the largest of the sirenians. Sirenians are those marine mammals that are not seals or whales. Some examples are today's manatees and dugongs. Sea cows is the only type of sirenian that lived in cold water. The sea cows were slow-moving and completely harmless animals, so it was possible for the sailors to easily get close enough to snare them one at a time with an iron hook on a long pipe. The stricken sea cow was then speared. According to Steller, the animals lived in small family groups, with adult males and females accompanied by younglings. He thought that they had only one baby at a time, and probably took at least a year to raise it. And since there would have been few natural predators in these waters due to their huge size and thick skin, the slow reproduction was probably adequate for them too. Sea cows had to surface to breathe air, so hunters in boats could reach and spear them easily. The sea cows were said to help each other when one was distressed, so when hunters hurt one of them, the other innocent sea cows get sad and tries to help their stricken friend. This made it easy for the hunters to kill several at a time. The remaining population had been wiped out by 1768 due to cruel hunters and their greed. Number 5. Western Black Rhinoceros. The Western Black Rhinoceros, also known as West African Black Rhinoceros, was a subspecies of the black rhinoceros. The Western black rhino was believed to be genetically different from other rhino subspecies and was once widespread in the savanna of sub-Saharan Africa, but its population declined due to extreme poaching. Many people believe that their horns held medicinal value, which led to people getting greedy, and this greed became the cause of this rhino's downfall. The western black rhino was declared extinct by the IUCN in 2011. IUCN stands for International Union for Conservation of Nature. The western black rhino resided primarily in Cameroon, but since 2006, surveys have failed to locate any individual of this species. The western black rhino measured 3 to 3.75 meter in length and 1.4 to 1.8 meter from ground to shoulder. They weighed 800 to 1400 kg. It had two horns, the first measuring 0.5 to 1.4 meter and the smaller second one was 2 to 55 centimeter. Western black rhinos were browsers and their common diet included leafy plants and shoots around their habitat. Browsers are those herbivores who feed on leaves, soft shoots, or fruits of high-growing, generally woody plants such as shrubs and bushes. This is the contrast of or opposite of grazing, where animals eat grasses and other low vegetation. During the morning or evening, they would browse for food. During hottest parts of the day, they slept or rolled around or lie in mud or water to keep themselves cool and avoid biting insects. They are believed to have been nearsighted and would often rely on local birds, such as the red-billed oxpecker, to help them detect incoming threats. The IUCN warns that other rhinos like Africa's northern white rhino is teetering on the brink of extinction, while Asia's Javan rhino is making its last stand due to continued poaching and lack of conservation. So this was it. 5 animals who have become extinct. There are many more animals who are becoming extinct or at the brink of extinction. So we should save animals or at least spread awareness to other people to save animals and their habitats because they play a very vital role, a very important part in our ecosystem.